I'd like to call the March 3rd meeting of the Muncie Common Council to order. If you'll stand and join me and my fellow councilmen in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if you'll remain standing for our invocation. Mr. Green.
Please bow your heads and remove all your hats. Precious Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this privilege and opportunity to call upon thy name this evening. Lord, we ask, dear God, for your guidance and direction throughout this meeting. Lord, you know the things that are laid out before us tonight. We want to do what is best for the citizens of Muncie, and we ask, Lord, that you would guide and direct us. Help us, dear Heavenly Father, to do those things that are pleasing in thy sight. We ask it all in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Green. Okay, citizens recognition this month will be done by Miss Sarah Gullion.
I've always been a believer that a strong public education system should be the foundation of a healthy city. We need a well-educated citizenry in order to fully grow the city. So I'm a huge admirer of public education teachers and wanted to choose a teacher for the Citizens Award this month, especially as we watch public education being hit so hard in our state. While we have so many hardworking, long-term Muncie Community School educators, not ours. All right, is that better?
Don't sound like it.
Okay. So while we have so many hardworking, long-term Muncie Community School educators, in fact, a couple on our own council, Rose Selby, who is at Southside, and Dale Basham, who used to teach at Southside for many years and is retired. I narrowed it down to my own district board, and I chose someone who happens to be celebrating 10 years at Muncie Central High School. My son also had him while he was there, so I personally know his effect on the students. And I know many of the students who are here for Ms. Snyder's AP class tonight who are going to have a resolution for us. So I have students probably feel the same way. So this month, I'm presenting Drew Chanette, a social studies and economics teacher at Muncie Central, with the Council Teacher Month Award. As mentioned, Drew started teaching at Central in 2015, where he's taught economics, AP macroeconomics, AP macro.
Boy, he went down hard. He hit his face, though. He hit his face. What did he trip over?
He's in Paris.
Well, thank goodness we have lots of firefighters and EMTs here. teacher and academic community director for Motivate Our Minds, and taught social studies at high schools in Georgia and North Carolina. And he's a Ball State Cardinal since he earned his master's there, although he did do undergrad at Wake Forest University. Mr. Shemetta is also a mentor teacher for MCS, a curriculum frameworks review for the Indiana Department of Education, served on the MCS Innovation Plan National Review Panel, and is a monthly youth leadership academy sponsor at Central. One of the foundational principles of the innovative plan that Drew found particularly important was culturally responsive practice, which embrace the values and backgrounds within our diverse MCS community. He believes we need to meet our students where they are and work to connect them, their content being taught to their interests and passions. During his years here in Muncie, Drew has been actively and passionately involved in our community and has been recognized for that work. He attended the Muncie Delaware County Chamber of Commerce Academy for Community Leadership, was awarded the Muncie Rotary Very Important Volunteer Award in 2012, the Fisher Institute Friend of Wellness and Gerontology Award in 2013, and was chosen as one of N Magazine's Next Generation Leaders in 2013. Mr. Shemetta was also honored as the NCHS Teacher of the Year in 2017 and was a finalist in both 2017 and 2020 for the Ball Brothers Foundation Excellence in Teaching Award. Drew not only works with his students to teach them coursework they need to graduate, but models commitment to others in our community and how to be civilly and civically involved. I mentioned that my son had Mr. Shemetta a few years ago, and so did many of his friends. I heard only good things about him. He's the kind of teacher who is respected because he's respectful to the kids. He's not a pushover, but as one kid put it, takes a beat to think about his responses. We're lucky to have teachers like Drew in our city schools. You start making your way up here on the students. And because she's also here tonight with her students, and she and Mr. Shemetta have worked closely together over the years, I asked his colleague, Julie Snyder, if she wanted to share something about it tonight, and she did. Drew is one of a kind. He is a great teacher, but more importantly, he is an amazing person. I know he would do anything for me anytime. He cares so much for everyone around him, and this really resonates with the students. They don't just learn sometimes from, economics from him. They learn how to be compassionate and kind to human. He is an invaluable member of our staff, and I'm so proud to call him a friend. Central's principal, Chris Walker, also had this to say about him. Mr. Shemetta embodies what it means to be student-centered. He is constantly looking for ways to engage students in ways that are personally meaningful to them based on their own life experiences. He has a deep passion for making Muncie Central and Muncie as a community a better place, and he works tirelessly every day to ensure our students are successful. And I also know Drew to have a great wife who was sorry not to be here because she's out of town for work. But his mother-in-law and one of his daughters is here tonight too, and they have another daughter together who I'm very proud of too. Drew, thank you for your commitment to our kids and to our city.
Very good to say thank you to everyone for their continued support of Muncie Community Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gullion. Our next month's council recognition will be Councilperson Selvey. Okay, roll call.
McIntosh.
Here.
Basham.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Dishman.
Present.
Garrett.
Present.
Selby.
Here.
Gullion.
Here.
Powell.
Here.
President Mason.
Here.
All present.
Okay, is there a motion to approve or any changes to be made in the minutes from the February meeting as presented?
Mr. President, I would ask for this motion to be moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made by Councilperson Selvey, seconded by Councilman Brandon Garrett. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Are there any committee reports? Okay, seeing that there's no committee reports, any appointments to boards and commissions?
Yes, I believe we have an appointment to the Muncie Human Rights Commission,
Okay,
and I would like to nominate Linda Muckway to that position.
I'll second that.
okay, motion has been made by Councilperson Gilliam to nominate Linda Muckway, seconded by Councilperson Powell. Are there any other nominations? Seeing there's no more other nominations. All in favor
We got a
of nominating?
roll call.
Does she want to come up and say anything?
Okay. Linda, did you want to come up and say something?
Oh, that's okay. I'm pretty verbal, so they'll probably be able to hear me just fine. I want to tell you thank you very much for appointing me to the Human Rights Commission. I was on it several years ago, and I'm very happy to serve again. It's needed, especially at this time in our democracy right now, so thank you for appointing me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I gotta figure that out from back there.
Okay, we do a
I don't
vote on
realize
that.
in the back of my head.
I thought it was a vote. I don't know.
Something
Did we-
but-
Don't we vote right?
I think we vote, roll call, isn't it?
Vote?
Okay, roll call.
Garrett,
Yes.
Dishman,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, previously introduced ordinances. Ordinance number 29-24.
Mr. President, I'd like to withdraw that at this time.
Okay. Okay, this ordinance has been asked to be withdrawn from,
Anyone here to speak on it?
We don't need, these
Don't need-
withdrawn,
do
we
we
just
need
move
to
on.
act,
We just move on.
okay,
Sponsoring ordinance, seeking withdrawal.
sponsoring. Okay.
Move on.
Ordinance number 30-24.
Ordinance 30-24, an ordinance the city of Muncie, Indiana, annexation certain territory to the city of Muncie, Indiana, placing the same within corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the city of Muncie, Indiana. Annexation area number 2, portions of Huron Point neighborhood.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded that this ordinance be adopted. All in favor? Okay. Anyone here to speak on this annexation?
Good evening, council. My name is Max Adams. I'm serving as an attorney to the city for these annexation ordinances. This is a Heron Point annexation ordinance. It's up for adoption tonight. I know we've talked about this several times in other meetings, so I won't go into too much more detail, but happy to answer any questions on this. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this annexation, Heron Point? Okay, seeing that there's no one else here to speak on, we'll do a roll call.
Gillian,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Dishman,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, moving on. Ordinance number 3-25.
Ordinance 3-25, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the R4 Resident Zone to the BC Community Business Zone on premises located at the northwest corner of the intersection of West Memorial Drive and South Sampson Avenue, Muncie, Indiana.
Okay, this is being asked to be rezoned from an R4 resident zone to BC community zone. Is there anyone here to speak on that?
Yes, Brian Allard, representing the seller and the buyer. And if you have any questions about it, I'll be happy to answer. It's a commercial property that's in a residential zone right on 12th Street and across from a convenience store. And the buyer wants to convert it into residential on the top and possibly commercial on the bottom.
Okay, yes.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 3-25.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made that we adopt ordinance 3-25. It's been seconded. Roll call, please.
Garrett,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, ordinance number 6-25.
Ordinance 6-25, an ordinance amending Chapter 77, parking regulations of the City of Muncie Code of Ordinance, Burris Laboratories School parking.
Mr. President,
Yes,
I make a
Councilman
motion that
Powell.
we adopt ordinance 6-25.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made by Councilperson Powell, seconded by Councilman Brandon, that we adopt ordinance number 6-25. Any other? Any discussion on it? Roll call.
Basham,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
9 yes.
New ordinances. Ordinance number 7-25.
Ordinance 7-25, an ordinance for transfer of appropriations, police/fire.
Okay, this ordinance seeks to transfer $526,072.77 from the opioid distribution fund.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that this ordinance be adopted, introduced. Okay, all in favor?
Public comment.
Yep, that's what I was asking.
Any public comment on this one? Seeing there's no public comment, all in favor of introducing this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance number 8-25.
Ordinance 8-25, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the R4 resident zone to the B Variety Business Zone on premises located at 2810 West Ethel Avenue, Muncie, Indiana 47304.
Okay, is there a motion to introduce this?
I'll make a motion.
I second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Good evening, I'm Michael Foley, 324 West Jackson. I am here on behalf of the petitioner. This is a petition to rezone. It's a property just off the Tilson corridor, just north of Payless Supermarkets. We had a favorable vote, 8-0 at the BZA level. It's been commercial since 1966 when it was built. We're just trying to get that classification and match the use. If you have any questions, I can answer them. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
So right now, it's completely all business already? I mean,
Yeah,
there's no-
it's
there's no
small
residential
offices.
at all?
There's 9 units in the little, it's an L-shaped building. It's
right, I see it here, but no residential at all in there?
No, no.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I will say that I believe this is a very good zoning change for this parcel and what businesses that are in there and that have been in there. This probably should have been done a while ago, so I will say that I think this is being our due part in good zoning.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Vote carries. Ordinance number 9-25.
Ordinance 9-25, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the BB Variety Business Zone to the R-3 Residence Zone on premises located at 2524 South Madison Avenue, Macedonia Avenue, Muncie, Indiana 47302.
Okay, I guess this change in zoning would be to reflect its current residential use after it's split from a parcel with a commercial use. Is anyone here to speak on that?
Yeah,
Mr.
motion first.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we introduce ordinance 9-25.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that we introduce ordinance 9-25.
On this is like a hardship. People have a loan for it, but it's an FHA loan, and they won't close it. They got 2 more weeks to get this closed, and so they can't buy the house unless it's zoned residential with the FHA, so it can't be, variety commercial. And people worked really forward on this because we're trying to close it. They've already had the house inspected, and then the date that they're wanting to get it, the appraisal's on the 5th, of 2 days from now, the 5th, because they have to have this closed within 2 weeks, or they have to start their whole loan over again. And that's all I have to say about it.
Mr. Dean, can we suspend the rules for that?
Yeah, so you would need to first vote on the introduction,
Okay.
then someone would need to make a motion to suspend the rules, which would have to be unanimous.
Okay.
Adopting the ordinance on the first reading, and then you do another motion to adopt.
One thing before that, with this being that's a great idea, Councilperson Selby, but with the FHA loan too, this is going to have already passed all of our substanding building laws that we have in ordinance too. So as we think to suspend, this has already succeeded and it's decided what we have and what we would consider looking at for someone to move into the property. So it is therefore, we would say that this is okay to move into.
Thank you for saying that. So what can you tell me about that property before I choose to suspend the rules? What's the quality? I mean,
It's always
what's the
been a
structure?
house.
I'm sorry?
It's always been a house.
Okay.
On that property, and that's the house has been.
Okay.
What we did is, we actually
Thank you for
got the
that.
house in kind of commercial property.
Yeah.
We divide the house off and we remodeled the whole entire house and everything's new in it. And then we sold it, went FHA, but they can't buy it unless it's not a business zone. It can't be a variety business. But it's always been, someone's always lived there as a house.
So, question, Mr. President, may I
Yes.
ask a question? So, is this your first remodel?
No.
So
I've done it all my life.
You have?
Yes.
Okay, and have you ever got any citation or anything from the building commissioner, from the city of Muncie for work that you've done before?
No, I haven't ever done that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think we should be noted that the Plan Commission has favorably recommended this zoning change by 8-0 vote.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of introducing? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries.
Mr. President, I would like to suspend the rules to approve, this application.
Okay.
This ordinance.
I apologize, I'm gonna interrupt, please. We're being asked by our audio, if we can take a 5-minute recess for them to fix the audio. There's an issue.
Okay.
So we need to put a phone recess.
Call it.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Get the audio squared away. Called back to order. I believe Councilperson Selby had a motion.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to suspend the rule. Roll call?
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Dishman,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
Now you need a motion to adopt now that you've suspended the rules.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 9-25.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded that we adopt ordinance number 9-25. Is it a voice vote? Roll call?
Selby,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Dishman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, ordinance number 10-25.
Ordinance 10-25. An ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the R-3 Resident Zone to the BV Variety Business Zone on premises located at 3700 Block East Centennial Avenue and Lot 2 in the Nanny Haven Subdivision, Muncie, Indiana 47303.
I make a motion to introduce this ordinance, please.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to introduce this. All in favor?
You don't want nobody to discuss on it.
Any
Yeah.
discussion?
You smile when I stand.
I
I'm
should know.
concerned.
I was looking right at you.
My name is Kathy Van Ice, and I'm from Ashton Land Surveyor. We do represent Donna Drake and the Drake properties. We are bringing this before you, asking if we could get this from a R3 zone to a BV or variety business variety. The property of this property is a part of multiple properties that they have purchased over the years. These are pictures of some of the houses that they have purchased, rehabbed, and replaced onto the tax records of Delaware County. Right now, they have increased the tax record as of 2024 by $5 million by rehabbing a lot of these houses. This property in particular is was a barn that was in this condition when they purchased it. And what she has done is she has re-sided and refurbished this barn. It is sitting in a, like I said, R3 zone, and they do have a right to have it without a house because of a variance. However, usage is the problem. You can't use it. So why we are here tonight is we're asking that we get a rezone to the BV because with the usage, she can use it under Section 16 of the BV as storage for building materials, and that is what she's needing, or they are needing. I say she because Donna Drake is my main contact. This is not a spot rezone. The east adjoiner is of the same zoning. And as you can see, the barn right now is sitting completely empty.
Yeah.
But it is one that she has completely rehabbed. And if you do have any questions, we will be asking for a variance for the corridor standards because the building does sit further back. It is also not going to be used for anything more than just more of her, I want to say staging, and I don't think I should say that. Building materials come in, they're stored somewhere secure, and then she takes them to the site in which she's rehabbing a building. So I don't know what you call that. It's temporary storage to make them nicer. So I don't know if you have any questions for me, but.
Okay, and it did also receive a favorable recommendation.
Yes, we did.
from
I'm
the-
sorry, that's at the top of my page. I forgot to write that. Say that. It's right there. Yes,
Mr.
we did.
President.
Okay. Any other questions by council?
I have a comment.
Yes.
I did go, I know I was a critic for that piece of property, and I did go out there and I did surveyed it, and I like all the improvements they've done.
Okay.
You have to be there to see how much consideration and amount of money that they put in to make sure that they are within all the requirements. So she did an amazing job, and I'm very, very happy. So I went from one end to the other.
Well, I
So I'm
appreciate-
glad
Well, thank you.
and thank you for the opportunity to let us look at it, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to add that I too have been there and seen it, that you've completely rehabbed the property. It's amenable to its neighbor, and I know you've worked very hard to make that neighbor happy and satisfied, and I'm
Right.
sure
Yes,
that
yes.
they are.
Yes, we made sure that there was a light on the south end of the building that he complained about, and it has been permanently disabled or cut off, so there's no electricity to it. So there's no way it's going to be shining in the backside.
And that privacy fence is above and beyond.
Yes,
It's
yes.
really good.
I don't know if you can see it very well, but they took it all the way down, and they gravelled the driveway, so it's very clear, so that there's no chance that anybody's going to cross the backyard.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
Hello, Drew Hall, McKinney and Company Law, 201 North High Street. I'm the attorney for Drake Properties. I just want to make a clarification. It says on the agenda that it's an R3, but it's actually currently zoned R4. So just for the purposes of clarification. Okay, so it was wrong the other way. Okay, never mind.
Thank you. I do have one more question, Mr. President, if I
Okay.
may. May I ask you a question? Sure. One more. So, I know I was very, I had so many questions about this property. How, time frame, how soon do you guys want it? Because I just feel like I was very critical of that property, and I would like to suspend the rule, give you that opportunity to.
I didn't want to push my luck, but I wanted to ask.
Okay, well.
Well, I would like to
okay,
ask
thank
that,
you.
please.
Okay. Mr. Dan, can I suspend the rules now?
It would be the same process.
Okay.
Mhm.
You have to vote, you'll need to introduce first.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And there's also, at the end of your agenda, once this is over, we might, it still shows the table from the previous
Yeah.
one, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. All opposed, same. Okay, vote carries.
Mr. President, I would like to ask my fellow councilmen to suspend the rules in order to adopt this ordinance tonight.
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that the rule be suspended on this. Roll call.
Basham?
Yes.
McIntosh?
Yes.
Selby?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Dishman?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Gillian?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Motion to adopt.
Mr. President,
I-
I'd like to move that we approve this ordinance.
I second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that we adopt this motion. Roll call.
Dishman?
Yes.
Selby?
Yes.
Gillian?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
McIntosh?
Yes.
Basham?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
President Mason?
Yes.
9 yeses.
Okay, ordinance number 11-25.
Ordinance 11-25. An ordinance fixing the maximum salaries of each and every member of the Muncie Police Department of the City of Muncie, Indiana for the year 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that this ordinance be adopted. Introduced.
Discussion.
Any discussion on it?
Good evening. Matt Wagley, Deputy Controller. Greg Wright, Controller. This is ordinance that is fixing the salary ordinance for the Muncie Police Department for 2025. And this goes along, obviously, with the adoption that you're going to see in the resolution towards the end of the meeting. So of the contract. Yes.
Okay, so the chief and deputy chief's compensations is changed along with officers.
Mr. President, I've got a question.
Yes.
I think actually our legal counsel caught this, that it says that the increases take effect January 5th, 2024. Was that a typo in that?
I would say it would be. Be January 1st, 2025.
Okay, we need to amend that then?
Yeah, section 3. Yeah.
Okay, with amendment.
Thank you.
Hi. I'll sneak in here. Chris Deegan, Muncie Police Department. I heard somebody had a question about salaries and what it was. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
So this results in an increase from the deputy chief, the chief compensations, change from a stated annual salary to a stated biweekly pay.
So what we did was, traditionally in years past, we've had annual salaries for everybody across the board. We made the decision to switch to biweekly salaries as what I think the civilians, all the salary ordinances are biweekly. We're trying to fall in line with that. We also have, I think 2027 is going to be a year where we're going to have 27 pays and not 26 pays. So we're just trying to get ahead of that. So all we did was the contract that was negotiated was for 5%. So every annual salary that we had from the previous ordinance, we calculated the 5%. We broke that down in a biweekly salary, and that's what you see in front of you.
Okay. Any questions for council?
Yeah, question. Mr.
Yes.
Just for the public record, it says that the chief and deputy chief compensations were both increased from ordinance. Could you tell the public by how much?
5%.
5% even for them, okay.
Same as the
Perfect.
the rest of the department.
Okay,
Mr. President?
Yes.
So does this include, is it, this 5%, is that all compensation, including benefits, any gear, that kind of thing?
So that's more of a contract question. This is just dealing with the
Yeah,
salaries.
okay.
All of the benefits that are carved out for insurance, retirement, that's all part of the contract that's going to come before you guys
Okay.
later. This is just the salary piece.
Okay, okay.
Mr. President.
Okay.
And so, Mr. Wright, these increases will be financed through the opioid settlement money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was from the
Unrestricted, correct?
7-25.
And those are the unrestricted funds?
Unrestricted.
Yes. Correct. Yes.
Will this exhaust those funds?
Yes, on the unrestricted for this year.
Is there a time limit where those funds have to, I'm sorry, Mr. President,
No.
may I?
Yes.
Sorry. Is there a time limit when those funds have to be used
No.
from ARP? Okay.
No,
because they're not ARP funds.
Oh, they're not?
No, it's a opioid settlement.
Oh, that's settlement from the state, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I
Mr.
didn't know
Barber.
if they were done with me yet or not. Audie?
Oh, any other questions for?
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you. There you go, bud.
Audie Barber, our opioid funds are all going to be run out. And I agree with everybody making as much money as they possibly can make, okay? I agree 100%, pay them as much as we can afford. But I'm afraid if you guys adopt these raises and these contracts, they got a 10% raise last year. They're getting a 5% raise this year. And by all means, I wish they'd get a 50% raise. Don't get me wrong. But if we don't have the money to pay our bills, that means we're going to raise taxes. And about a year and a half ago, I mentioned something about a lit tax. And guys, I'm not that very bright, but I can see that lit tax coming, and it's coming quick. and some of you guys already know what I'm talking about. And they're going to force you guys, as the council, to adopt it, and then they're going to hold it over your heads and say, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, all 6 of you guys voted for this to give these raises when we don't have the money to give the raises. And then you're going to turn around and have to raise the lit tax, and they're going to say, well, there you go. There's the people that raised your lit tax. My lit tax runs me about $40 a week on my paycheck, okay? About like my sewage bill. My sewage bill went from $23 to $42. You're raising these taxes. These people can't afford them. They've got minimum wage jobs or $12 or $14 an hour jobs. Every time you raise taxes, it's $20 here, $20 there, and these folks are not going to be able to afford these tax raises. Let's live in our means. If you have a gas bill at your house, or you, when I say you, I mean the whole council, and you can't afford to pay it, you quit spending until you get the money to pay that. And that's what's going on here. We have got to stop the spending. Or you're going to run the rest of the what few people we have left in this town out because the taxes are going to be too high. And I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I like the money on my paychecks, and I like to be able to spend the money on what I want, but when they're taking it out of there faster than I can make it, and I make good money. I make really damn good money. So half of these people make about 1/4 of what I make, and they can't afford it. They're not going to be able to afford it. So when you give these big raises, they'll love you guys for it. I understand. Police and fire both. I wish they all could have 50% raises, but they can't do it with the tax money we got coming in. And you guys are going to force the lit tax, and that's what's going to happen. You mark my words. I said it 1.5 years ago. I'm saying it again today. Here comes the lit tax. It's getting ready to come, folks. Get ready.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Anybody else?
Mr. President, may I make a comment,
Yes.
if I may? The opioid settlement, the funds that are being used and dealt out here, these individuals in emergency services are the very ones that deal with this on a day-to-day basis. The emergency services should receive this for what they're doing. I have no problem with allowing this to go through. And I think it should, because that's part of their job, and it's been extended. The funds have been set aside from the state, came in, and now we should be able to give it to them.
What are you going to do when the money runs out, though? What are you going to do when the money runs out? Taxes will come into play.
Anyone else? Okay.
Audie Barber, once again, when you do that, when you give them that money, that's fine. But do you think they're going to come back and ask for a 5% reduction once that money's gone and you guys don't have the money to pay that anymore? Do you think they're going to ask for a reduction, or do you think you're going to have to come up with that money somewhere else? You got to come up with that money, because that opioid money is not going to last very long.
Ms. Brown.
Mr. Barber, the opioid settlement money is not going to be used next year, from what I understand from an email from Mayor Ridenour. But the opioid settlement money is an 18-year process. I think that's what I read. So that's an 18-year process. So we will have more money to spend on other endeavors in regards to
How much is the opioid money each year?
Well, it differs every year. Unrestricted and restricted abatement funds, it differs every year. And from what Mayor Ridenour has said, we haven't spent any of that yet. So there's that. And in regards to what your comment on the lit, the first I've heard of that is an email earlier this week from Mayor Ridenour. So it is in the beginning discussions, from what I understand.
It is in the beginning discussions already.
I don't know. There's been no discussion as of yet. That's a conversation that you need to have with Mayor Ridenour.
Well, like I said 1.5 years ago, guys, get ready for it, because it is coming. I promise you that.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of introducing this ordinance, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance number 12-25.
Ordinance 12-25, an ordinance fixing the maximum salaries of each and every member of the Muncie Fire Department of the City of Muncie, Indiana, for the year 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that this ordinance be introduced. All in favor signify. Any discussion?
Yeah, man, you always want to ask it.
Yeah, I know it, man.
Again, this is basically the same, fixing the salaries for 2025 for the fire department as we did with the police department for the contract year for this year. So it's the same percentage with the fire as the police.
Mr. Burford,
Just if you guys have any questions for us, I'll be happy to.
anybody have any questions for the chief?
No.
Thank you.
I do have one question. What is the total amount of the opioid settlement?
That's a question for Mayor Ridenour or for the controller. I have a follow-up question with that too, about the community center in Heacon Park.
Well, as of now in that fund, the unrestricted is 526,072.77, and there's a total of $1,664,523.28.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that includes the restricted.
Right, so that's what I was going to say. The restricted is the 1.1 something, 1.3?
1.138.
Yeah, okay. So that's different. Okay.
Right.
Total, 1.4 million total?
We'll get
No. That's what we have right now.
what we have.
That's an accumulation of I think, 4 years worth of funds. Mr. Mason, I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
President Mason, I'm so sorry. Mr. Wright, and this might be a question for Mayor Ridenour. In December, when we talked to Mayor Ridenour at our council admin conversation, we talked about a different use for the opioid settlement monies, that it was originally earmarked for a community center in Heacon Park and then would be shifted for this use. I just want to make sure that there's funding for that community center in Heacon Park so that we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. So maybe that's a question for you, Mayor Ridenour.
Yeah, we decided that it was important to have our public safety get the increases.
Agreed.
That we, and there is still plenty of funds, primarily through EDIT, that we believe will be available for that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
You're saying there's plenty of funds for the youth center. Is that what you're saying?
The
Through the EDIT.
What we're putting in, yes, those funds are available through EDIT.
So it's ongoing. It's still going to be happening, right?
Well, we're still working on it, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Barber.
Audie Barber again. Like I said, guys, you just spent $500 and some thousand out of this $1.4 million, didn't you? Isn't that what you voted on?
No.
The fire department stuff out of the opioid money?
No.
No, sir.
No. We introduced.
Oh, it was introduced. So you got 500,000 that was introduced, and you got another whatever introduced for the police and fire raise. Guess what? ASME still does not have their contract as of today. That is a problem.
It is a problem.
I'm going to ask you guys to table this, show strength in numbers, show strength for your ASME guys that did not lay down on the job when the snow came in. They give you the snow, they cleared the snow, they didn't lay down, they don't have a contract. They're going to get a 3% raise, possibly a 2% raise, because they were asked to give up the they were asked to give up the Me Too clause. So they have had to give the Me Too clause up to get a 3% raise in a contract, so, or a 2% raise in a contract. So please table this until they get a contract. And they don't have a contract, and I don't know if you're putting the cart before the horse or not, but you're giving these raises on these contracts that you guys haven't even voted on yet. So I don't know the order of that, how that works. If you should do the contracts first and then give the raises, because I think you put the cart before the horse. I don't know for sure.
Mr. Mayor?
I'll clarify that. These ordinances right now to change the salary are for introduction. They won't be adopted until next month.
Thank you.
Both agreements are on your agenda here shortly for adoption.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the council is well aware of this, as is AFSCME. They approved this. It did go to their membership, and the membership voted for it. And we were told today that we should have the signed document from AFSCME for their agreement tomorrow.
Good job.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Any other questions or discussion?
So, like you said, I'm gonna get this clear. So after getting the raise last year, the money that was set aside for this community center that I've been advocating for years, now it's gonna be done away with, and you guys are all right with that.
No.
No, sir.
Because y'all know,
That's-
if it gets put on the back burner again,
No.
it ain't ever gonna happen. So now y'all was gonna use this money, and now we're saying, okay, we're gonna put it on the back burner again, do this with it. So the center is not gonna happen.
No, it's not true. It will happen.
It's not true?
It will happen.
Oh, okay.
You want
It's been going on since McShirley administration.
Sure.
So, I mean, the money is there.
He just said.
Go
Mayor
ahead.
just said he was going to continue.
Yes.
with edit dollars, sir.
Come on.
I'm just saying, man, we can only answer what you heard us say.
So why not keep that money for the center and use that edit money for this right here? Let's do
Mayor
that.
had to answer that one.
That would be a question
But
for Mayor
y'all the
Ryan.
one vote on it. Y'all the one decided.
Mr. President,
So just use that edit money for that.
we
And
just,
keep that opioid money for this community center.
Mr. Scaife, we just introduced it. That's all we've
That's
done
all we can
tonight.
do.
We haven't voted on
Okay,
anything
but
yet.
I'm saying, but I mean, it's gonna happen. Y'all know it. Y'all know y'all gonna do it. It's gonna happen.
Also regarding AFSCME, the raises will be on for Friday, and they will also receive their back pay Friday
Thank you.
Good job.
Good.
per the contract.
Thank you.
Good deal. Yeah, is there any more questions or discussion? All in favor of introduction of this ordinance, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Resolutions. Resolution number 3-25.
Resolution 3-25, a resolution of approval for the 2024 changes to the official zone maps for the city of Muncie.
Yeah, this resolution approves changes to the zoning map to reflect zoning amendments that have previously been adopted by council. Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we adopt resolution 3-25.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. We need discussion.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Council. Kylene Swackenmer from Plan Commission. Just here to introduce this one to you guys. All of the 2024 zone changes that came before you and were approved have been incorporated into the official City of Muncie maps. They've been updated on GIS mapping systems and within our office. There was a total of 6 so you should have received the compiled list of that.
Mhm.
And just here for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions by the council? Any questions from the audience? Seeing there's no questions, roll call.
Garrett,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Lillian,
Yes.
President
Yes.
Nine.
Resolution number 4-25.
Resolution 4-25. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie affirming Muncie as an inclusive community for all residents.
Motion to adopt resolution
second
4-25. Thank you, Council President.
Is there a motion?
I move.
Okay, motion's been made by Councilman Powell, seconded by Councilman Garrett. Any questions or discussion? There you go.
Good evening, Council.
Good
evening.
evening.
Charlize Jamison, Muncie. You know, for the last several years, Muncie, Indiana has wanted people to come and make our city their home, even compensating them, offering some of them financially to do so. We are actively acquiring and building housing that people of all income levels can live in and afford. Good things. We have spent millions of dollars making our city's infrastructure more accessible to those with disabilities. Sidewalks, curb cuts. We have a history of being a welcoming community. The city administration, this one and in previous ones, have supported events such as Pride events and transgender awareness events, as well as supporting other important causes throughout the year. Yet today, we are experiencing a concerted effort throughout our country and our state to whitewash and wipe away any semblance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Resolution 425 makes a strong statement in support of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I say it instead of DEI. We need to say the words, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because DEI, there are those who would turn that into an ugly slur, and it's anything but. It's an important cornerstone for our city's future. If we want people to come here and live, which we do, we need to make this a strong and welcoming, inclusive community for everyone. Shirley Chisholm once said, if they don't offer you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Let's make sure the city of Muncie always has plenty of chairs. And if we don't, then let's build a bigger table. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I do.
Yes.
wanna say. For anybody who, I'm just going to share my experience. I was not born in this country. I am an immigrant. I came to Muncie, and Muncie was I became the person I am because of every person that has crossed my path. I look in the room, and I've seen Dr. Whitaker. She was one of my bosses at Southside Middle School. A lot of people in Muncie helped me through when I was in college and when I was waiting tables to get my education. And then I decided to do this, and I had many people too supporting me and saying, so people like me can come to this country, they can come work hard if given the opportunity, and we can give back. And I don't think there's many people in Muncie that say, I don't work hard and fight for people in Muncie. So there's more people like me that would like to be included. So open your hearts. If you just ask, what would Jesus do, basically. So, and I just want to take this moment to thank everybody who's believed in me and given me opportunities. So this is a no-brainer for Muncie. So thank you.
Very well said, Councilman Selby.
I have one thing to add. We all are allowed to think and believe in what we think we need to and believe in. That's why that flag flies. That's what separates us from every other country in the world. But I live by a quote that says, community only grows when you plant a tree with shade you'll never enjoy. So let's all be good stewards. Let's all plant trees, even if we're not going to enjoy the shade underneath that tree, but someone else is going to. And I believe that that's what we're here for. I want my kids to plant trees that other people can have shade for. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
I got something to say. I just want to thank Councilperson Sarah Golding for her writing this the way I needed to say it, because I wanted to say it, and I did author this resolution. So I just want to thank you for that, because I do know from the struggle that I had to come up with in this city, and I was well loved, but it was tough. But to be the first African-American president of Local 287, UAW, and then to have President Obama's campaign team come and ask me to introduce him when he was speaking here in 2008, lets me know that not only me, but people like me can have that opportunity. So, thank you, Tara.
Good deal.
President Mason, may I
Any
say
other
something really quick?
questions?
As an occupational therapist, I deal with people with physical disabilities. I deal with kids that are on the spectrum. It's about those kids too. I want to make sure that all my kiddos, all my students, all the people that I've touched as far as an occupational therapist and help to make their lives better, that they have that opportunity. So this is a lot broader than what we've been told. So just that, you know, skills for the job of living.
Go OT.
That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to adopt this resolution. Roll call?
Powell,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Dishman,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
9 yes.
That's very good.
Resolution number 5-25.
Resolution 5-25, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie to encourage relief, promotion, and/or communication for small businesses in the City of Muncie. There they are.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move that we adopt Resolution 5-25.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that we adopt this resolution. And it looks like we have some discussion.
Hello, good evening. I'm Julie Snyder. I teach AP Government at Muncie Central. For the past 5 years or so, one of my requirements for this class, it's been a civic engagement project where they have to attend city council meetings in the fall, but then in the spring, they have to actually take part. So this year, this is a great group. They have done so well. So I'm just going to introduce them, and then they're going to take it from there, okay? So Isabel Quirk, Aaron Coggeshall, Ethan Klinger, Emma Judge, Isaiah Voss, Chet Clark, Sadie Hanna, Ian McDaniel, and Jacob Collins. So I'll let them take it away.
Good evening. When our class was presented with this project, we knew that we wanted to create a resolution that strengthened our community. We saw a need to shine a light on the small businesses here in Muncie and wanted to come up with ways to better their promotion. Each member of our class will read a section of our resolution. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie to encourage relief, promotion, and/or communication for small businesses in the City of Muncie.
Whereas Muncie is a city that thrives when connected with small business. However, that connection between small businesses and the community has been lackluster within the past decades. And whereas the introduction of big chains has been overshadowing, and small businesses have not been given opportunities to connect with the city better.
Whereas providing more opportunities for smaller businesses to apply for tax abatements could relieve and support them. Whereas in the downtown district, outside of periodic events, the foot traffic is lacking. For example, people attend weekly events in the city, like First Thursdays and Farmers Market. However, these events tend to see the same people week after week, and if we expand promotional opportunities for small businesses and events, we could attract new, recurring shoppers.
Whereas attracting more students to downtown could also see an increase in attendance, which can be accomplished by giving discounts to student IDs. And whereas presently there is no committee for collaboration between the council and small businesses, leading to underrepresentation. The proposed committee for small businesses can include a collection of members from the Muncie, Delaware Chamber of Commerce, Muncie, Delaware Black Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Development, ECI, Small Business Development, and small business owners from the community. The committee would work as a middleman and inhibit businesses in Muncie and the city.
Whereas small businesses employ 46% of the workforce in the USA and have created 55% of net jobs according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Whereas according to the Indiana Small Business Administration, small businesses saw a net decrease in 24,451 jobs last year in Indiana.
Whereas the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics found that 20% of new businesses fail in the first 2 years and 45% in the first 5 years, mainly due to cash flow problems. Whereas in a survey conducted by the 2025 Muncie Central AP Government class with over 115 responses from members of our community, the main factor that would cause more people to shop locally would be the implementation of discount days, where shops would all give out sales on the same day.
Whereas among all survey responses, one of the largest agreed upon issues regarding local business was that people tend to forget about small businesses, as well as the problem of convenience. And whereas this could partially be due to the lack of advertising and accessibility for these businesses. Our goal is to provide better opportunities for these businesses to get their name out at an increased amount, ultimately resulting in more cash flow for them to work with.
Whereas another cause of this in downtown Muncie is the perception of lack of parking space. This parking creates hindrances to those who want to go down to downtown, leading them not to see small businesses because of the location. A third complaint from the survey is a short or inconsistent hours. People claim that local stores close too early, meaning they can't make it during the later hours.
Now, therefore, be resolved by the Common Council of the City of Muncie as follows. The Common Council of the City of Muncie supports the establishment of a collection of members from the Muncie, Delaware Chamber of Commerce, Muncie, Delaware Black Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Development, ECI Small Business Development, and small business owners from the community.
The Common Council of the City of Muncie supports an expansion of promotion for local businesses. The Common Council of the City of Muncie will encourage a package of aid for small businesses in Muncie. These benefits may include discount days, increased promotion of free public parking, and more possibilities for potential tax abatement opportunities.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
I do. I have a question. Yeah. Could you all tell us about the survey you conducted? How many people did that survey go out to, and what was your rate of response?
So we posted the survey on several different social media platforms. We know that Miss Snyder posted it on her Facebook. So we got around 115, 120 responses.
Okay. Do you know if they were mostly students, or were they community people, teachers?
It was kind of a wide range of ages. It was some people who were retired, and then a lot of 40s, 30s, and then some students our age as well.
Good. Great.
What prompted you to come up with? I mean, I've been through the class, and I totally understand. You're phenomenal, by the way, phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that, you are phenomenal. What prompted you to come up with this? Because I've been up here for a while now. I don't want to toot your horn, but this is probably the best one. the one that I think that will impact the most, that we can jump on and get something done with the most, is this one. So, I mean, I know you're local, and the way that you say, you know, we don't do enough days, we don't give enough, you know, discounts per day when we're doing it, really kind of hits the home, because it's, when you're saying that, I'm thinking, wow, that's really something we can do. Why didn't we think of that before? But you did. So when you came together, what was the idea from the beginning to now to come to this?
So kind of like a lot like you said, we had a lot of options to begin with, but we narrowed it down to this topic because we felt like we actually wanted to do something that like influenced our community. We tried to think about problems that we feel like Muncie faced, and we kind of felt like the local businesses here, or like the smaller businesses here in Muncie, are kind of disconnected from like the bigger business areas, like for example McGalliard.
Mm-hmm.
We felt like the downtown area was kind of like a completely separate part of Muncie, and we kind of felt like we wanted to connect them so that those smaller businesses in downtown could have just as much of an opportunity as those bigger businesses on Tillotson or McGalliard.
May I? Jump?
Yes.
Yes. So when through your survey, you said you surveyed individuals, did you talk to current business owners and during the survey and see what's working for them and what their needs are?
No, we didn't ask any current business owners.
You said ask tough questions, right? You asked the teacher.
Any other questions?
I'll just make a comment, Mr. President.
Yes.
I was lucky enough to be the one who got to work with the class this year, and I'm going to say that it was a super class. I mean, they were really great to work with. They wrote this. I did a little editing and gave them, a little bit of some ideas here and there, but they wrote it. They came up with the ideas, all the ideas of how to, work with the small businesses. They all came from these students, so it's a great class, and I was happy to work with it. Oh, no, not at all. No. It was fun. Yeah.
One more question.
Yes.
Are the results of your survey going to be published somewhere, maybe on the school's website, or how would we as council know the results of your survey?
We could definitely do that. Yeah, we have all the results, so we could definitely post it on our school, or yeah, we could email you. Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Good deal.
I will say that it gets kind of easier as you speak in public, but every one of you spoke very upfront, very forceful. You kind of drew us all in. And then Ms. Snyder, not again, but I'm going to toot your horn, but this is what you get when you have a teacher in a classroom that allows open-minded thinking.
Yes.
That allows kids to think for themselves, that are teach but not shoved one way. That's what you do. You do a great job of allowing people to make their own minds to bring us this, which is a collective group of kids that brought us this. So thank you guys. Just thank you for this. And Ms. Snyder, again, thank you for another great class and another great year. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yes.
Any other questions from the council? From the audience? Roll call.
Barrett,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Dishman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Okay, resolution number 6-25.
Resolution 6-25. A resolution of the City of Muncie transferring funds within the City of Muncie Common Council budget.
Make a motion to adopt Resolution 6-25.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that we adopt resolution number 6-25. Any discussion? Any question from the council members?
I just want to explain that the budget was set before the Ethics Commission was completed. In order to live stream that, which council feels is very important, we needed some funds to do that. Our council attorney graciously has agreed to pay for that out of some of his fees, and so thank you very much,
Oh,
Mr.
wow.
Gibson.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Mr.
Gibson, wow.
His commitment to making sure that there's that level of transparency and that people are able to take in that meeting is wonderful. And so I just want to explain why we're transferring those funds. It's just transferring it from attorney fees to other services and charges, I believe, so that we can live stream those ethics commission meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Thanks.
Anybody from the audience? Roll call.
Howell,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Lillian,
Yes.
President.
Yes. Resolution number 7-25.
Resolution 7-25, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie, Indiana, approving the collective bargaining agreement with the Greg Winters Memorial Fraternity Order of Police, Lodge number 87.
Is there anyone here to?
Make a motion that we
Make a
adopt
mo-
Resolution 7-25.
I second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that we adopt this resolution. Any questions or concerns from anybody? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Sorry, I was back there fanning myself, trying to step out in the hallway. I'm a little hot-blooded. It's warm in here. For those of you that don't know, my name is Brandon Qualls. I'm the president of the Great Winters Memorial Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 87 here in Muncie. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to hear me out. This contract is an attempt to try and move our department into being competitive with other agencies in the state. We'd appreciate your support for this contract. Historically, over the decades, and I'm not meaning anyone in this room, I'm talking long-term, municipalities have been able to underpay their law enforcement all across the country because there was a line of civilians lined up down the street and around the block willing to come and answer the call and serve their community. Unfortunately, all across the country, that is not the case anymore. Departments all over the country are struggling to properly staff their departments in order to serve their community. New officers are actually a rare thing. The last several years, the agencies are actively recruiting from other agencies to fill the vacancies within their own department with lateral transfers. When I was hired in 2012, there was well over 100 applicants trying to be hired by the Muncie Police Department. The departments completed one hiring process a year, and at the conclusion of that, they had dozens of individuals on a hiring list just waiting for an opening on the department. Now the department runs a hiring process whenever they can get applicants that apply. The last process, which started just this month, or last month actually now, saw 3 individuals. And just historically, once background investigations are completed, testing for perf, such as medical and psychological testing, we'll be lucky to have one of them left. I can say without hesitation that if it were not for the numerous lateral hires that we have made over the last several years, we would be in a staffing crisis. We would have to resort to restricting calls for service, as many other agencies have had to do across the state and country. This is obviously not the level of service that we want to provide. The department has completely changed how applicants submit their applications, making it easier. The mayor has offered lateral transfer bonuses to try and entice lateral officers to make the move. The department hired a company utilizing advertising and QR codes to try and recruit. Officers are attending job fairs in town and advertising. Since January 1st of this year, the Muncie Police Department have already had 5 officers leave. Except for once, for a very short amount of time, we have not been able to get full staffing for years. And most of that time, we've had numerous openings that cannot be filled. Most of you I've spoken to about this in the past, but I'd like to share some statistics with you. I've looked at the certified salary list from 2023, 2024, and for this year for 2025. This list, just to be clear, only includes departments that are under the 77 pension fund. It does not include sheriff's departments or sometimes college departments or other small departments that are not on that pension fund or on a different fund. Depending on which stats you look at, Muncie is around the 12th largest city in Indiana by population. In 2023, the Muncie Police Department was 102 in pay. In 2024, even with a 10% raise, the Muncie Police Department was 98th in pay. In 2025, assuming the 5% is approved, the Muncie Police Department will drop 5 spots to 103rd in pay. Some of these agencies that are above us are small departments such as Hartford City, whose base salary this year is $70,000. Some of the agencies that are making considerably more than Muncie are towns, when I looked at the list, I've never even heard of. I don't know even where they're at in the state. These agencies take a fraction of the calls that the Muncie Police Department responds to. To date, already this year, the Muncie Police Department has already responded to over 7,000 calls for service. It is not unusual on a busy 12-hour shift for the shift to take over 100 calls for service. Due to the staffing issue, most shifts are working at minimum staffing numbers, which is 10 officers. And it doesn't take too many serious calls to tie those officers up, and then other calls for service that come in are stuck and waiting. The raises that are proposed for 2026 will move us closer to being competitive, but we will need your help on council. Recently, the Newcastle Police signed a new contract for their lit, for their department, and their lit was increased. In 2026, their salary will be $68,269, and in 2027, their salary will be $74,413. We cannot afford to not be competitive with those kind of agencies that are so close to us and take a fraction of the calls that we take. A few months ago, I conducted a survey on the department, and one of the questions was, has another agency actively recruited you in the last 12 months? And 69% of the officers on the Muncie Police Department said yes. I can tell you personally that I've had 3 agencies actively recruit me in the last 12 months. And just to explain for anyone who's unsure of how the 77 pension fund works, I've been with the Muncie Police Department for almost 13 years. If I go to another agency that's under the 77 pension fund, I take my service time with me. Meaning if I left today, I could go to another agency making considerably more money, work 7 years, and lock in my 20-year pension and draw my pension at that rate. So it makes it pretty easy to see why we're having trouble keeping officers when they're thinking about themselves, their family, and the long-term financial planning for them and their family. We have to do better in order to be competitive with these other agencies. I know a large number of officers on the Muncie Police Department are waiting and watching to see what happens before they make a decision. If something doesn't change, I fear that there will be a large number of officers that leave. I ask for your support and help in getting us to where we need to be. I appreciate your time, and I'll stand for any questions. I got it in right at the timer, apparently.
Questions from
Any questions?
All right. So when you brought up the lateral transfers, that's kind of like a double-edged sword, isn't it? I mean, like, because they're kind of actively seeking us as hard as we are them as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we are taking on laterals, but we're also losing officers to other departments. And I've been told by FOP presidents who I'm friends with through the FOP at other agencies, and they love getting people from Muncie because they're a much smaller town. They don't have the call volume that we have, and they know when they get a Muncie officer, their experience, they've seen a lot of different stuff, and they're not going to have to spend a lot of time getting them up to speed when they hire them on. So yes, it is.
I'm glad you brought that up too. Sorry, President. But so I mean, our 2-year officer, you know, going somewhere else, we're losing value. You look, 7,000 runs already this year.
Yes, sir.
If you factor in a 2-year officer leaving, then I mean we're losing valuable call runs and you know, situation details and all that, versus, you know, us getting someone that hasn't been 2 years where we're at, and or the volumes of calls that we get.
Right. Well, and a lot of the laterals that we have gotten, not all, but a lot, are from smaller agencies but we've also lost quite a few of our laterals who have either went back to their agency after big pay raises came through, or they lateral to yet another agency. So we haven't even been able to keep all of our laterals that we brought on. We also, I think most of you know, we started the internship program through Ball State, and that's been very beneficial, but even all of those we cannot keep. They end up graduating and going to another department, and we're wasting money and time training officers, and I'm worried that we'll turn into a training department where officers come and get trained and then leave to go to another agency.
That's a good point.
Jerry, I think she was Jerry's first. Jerry was first.
Jerry, go ahead.
How many police officers have you lost this year due to them?
We've had 5 officers leave since January 1 this year.
Have you replaced them?
No.
So we're 5 down or more?
I believe we're 7 or 8 down right now.
7 or 8 down. And that's due to them not making enough money?
I think, I can't speak for all of them. Part of that survey, and I didn't want to take up too much of your time, but part of that survey asked, if you were to leave, what would be the reason? Overwhelmingly, it was money, but the second highest answer was call volume. If you can go to another agency, get paid considerably more, and take considerably less calls, it makes sense.
I got one more.
Yes, sir.
Was the guys happy with the contract?
Yes. Obviously, they're hopeful for 2026. Because as you can see, when I went through the numbers, I mean, we actually, even with the 10% last year and then the 5 this year, we dropped 5 more positions. And to be, you know, more than 100 agencies making more money than us with the call volume that we have, and that's just in the 77 fund. If you take in all the sheriff's departments and factored in all those salaries, we'd be much, much lower. The county sheriff's department and the Ball State Police Department are right behind us right now in salary.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, if I may, thank you, Mr. President. So, the lit was brought up a couple times, so let's
Yep.
talk about the elephant in the room. Would
Yep.
you explain, because now the rumors are going to be out there, to the public, when they hear this from your perspective, what would what percentage, if it comes out, what percentage, what does it look like? Is it going to be the same rate for everybody? Because it was mentioned people make this much and this much. What's the percentage of their income tax? Could you give me 3 examples, and what would it be dollar-wise, a week or a month?
I don't have those numbers with me because I wasn't expecting to talk about that right
We've
now.
talked about it, not you, but a bunch of people.
Right, no.
So
I have a bunch of those numbers. I don't have them with me tonight, so I don't want to speak and be incorrect about it.
Okay.
But it's based on your income, it's percentage based. And a lot of the counties that are around us have a higher rate than us already. Henry County just raised theirs to just over 2%, I believe, with this new contract that they did with their police department, and that's why they were able to give them the raises they needed. And we lost 1 officer to Newcastle before that even happened because he knew it was coming. And we tried to convince him to stay. I know I spoke with him. I know Deputy Chief Deegan spoke with him. We tried to convince him to stay, and he said, no, this is happening. I'm going to make way more money and take considerably less calls for service.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Let's say this discussion comes up, and you're, how is the police department going to inform the public, not just us councilmen, about the percentage or what you're thinking? Are you going to be talking to, because the blame will fall on all of the 9
Right.
of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We understand your needs as a police department. Safety is important, and it's not cheap to keep people safe. And if we ask general public, would you be willing to, if you ask me, would you be willing to pay this much % more for better public service, for better, to receive? I would say yes. But what's your outreach going to be towards the community?
Well-
How are you going to let them know and say,
Well, obviously, we want to work with council, and we want to have public discussion and have all the numbers prepared. I'm sorry I didn't bring them tonight. I wasn't prepared for that part of the discussion, but obviously we want to be open, honest, talk about what the issues are, much like I did tonight, talk about the numbers, and have that chance for a public discussion on it, and share that information with the general public as to why it's needed and what the numbers actually are.
So you're just gonna do that through council, or are you guys gonna?
No, I mean,
Try
once
to
that process
outreach?
gets started, we'll probably, as the lodge, I have to clear that with the executive board, but we'll probably put some statistics and numbers up on our
Put 'em in the
Facebook
paper?
page, and that way it can be shareable so that the information can be disseminated to more people than maybe attend these meetings or watch.
Okay, Councilperson Powell has a question.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I was just, okay,
Understand.
bringing that up. Thank you.
Number one, there's not anyone up here who's not supportive of public safety. I think that we've had conversations, both police and fire, about how supportive we are. And that we see that Muncie has historically, over the past 5 or 6 years, at least 7, become a training facility for other. That's something that we talked about on pre-2019. This contract that you're asking us to consider tonight, it's a 2-year contract. The first year is 5%, and then the second year, if that doesn't happen, what happens then with the police department?
We do not have a contract for 2026. If that does not happen, our contract will expire as per the language in the contract, December 31st of 2025.
Okay, so this could very well just be a 1-year contract for you, for the police department, if that doesn't happen.
Correct.
And then I have a question for Mayor Ridenour or Mr. Wright, if they could step up. Thank you, sir. Governor Braun has been talking about property tax reform, which could potentially cut property tax revenues by 15 to 20%. Those are different things we're hearing. I know that it has gone through several iterations. Do you have any projections on what Muncie is going to lose in property tax income, just in general?
I know what the original SB1 stated, but that was already adjusted down by the Senate, and it's in conference committee now, so I wouldn't want to speculate on where it is at this point. But I'm pretty convinced something's going to happen.
Something's, what's going to happen?
That there will be property tax reductions, and therefore cities, towns, schools, counties will all face possibly less revenue from that source.
Do you have any, I know you said.
No, I do not. I don't know, I've not heard any of the discussions today. I know there were several mayors there today, but they work. I don't know where it is at this point. I know it's in conference committee, so.
And so if we have property tax revenue losses, how are we going to address those?
Well, I think we will have to all get together and figure out the best method. I mean, to speculate is probably not ideal. There's old Chinese proverbs that say 80% of what you worry about doesn't come to pass, so why don't we wait and see where they are? They're just now into the second third, so let's let them get through the second third, then we'll get into the final third of the committee. But believe me, I talk with the state senators and state representatives regularly, and did today, stating my opinion, but I don't have a vote.
Okay.
So I can't speculate where.
But you do understand why I've asked, if we're going to be losing a significant portion of our property tax revenues, why that would cause concern.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why I said we'll all get together and figure it out.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I will say that I do have some numbers here. Again, you're right, they're in committee right now.
Yeah,
We don't know
yeah,
where
it's
it's going
being
to shake out.
adjusted. Yeah.
But from the original, which started out at.
Yeah, I have.
Well, I'm just going to say it for the public's
go ahead.
knowledge, okay? So the original was starting off at like $2.5 million loss.
2.4.
And that's only the first year, then continuing
that's
to
the
go.
first year. And it was
Now,
3.1 for the county.
And we're just talking about the city because we're city council right now, right? So
Right.
that's, and that's only the city, that doesn't include schools and
Correct.
library and all of that. Then the amended version came down to 250,000. So they did, but right now, like you say, it's in committee. So we're talking somewhere in between there, right?
Correct.
So just, for the general public, so that we can know what kind of numbers we're talking about. 'Cause
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot
I
of
mean,
money.
we
It's a lot
will,
of
we
money.
will feel it, whether it's 250,000,
Yeah.
and we will
Yes.
feel it a lot more
Like,
if it's 2.4 million.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank
But we'll work together and figure out the best route to go forward. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments?
Once again, Audie Barber. I want to pay these guys as much as we can afford.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, you know, you discussed the tax reform, property tax reform. It's not been done in the last 8 years, so I don't see it coming happening, but it could possibly happen this time. But the thing about it is, I believe that this contract that you guys are getting ready to adopt as a resolution needs to be tied in with the raises you guys are given, because once you accept this in as a resolution, then I think the language in there, then you have to approve the money to give them the raise in the resolution that you guys just passed. Does that make sense? So you're going to pass this resolution saying that this is the contract that the city police and the Muncie Fire get. They get a 5% raise this year and a 10% raise next year. Now, in order to go back and it does say that in the resolution?
No.
It's not the contract?
From what President Qualls just said, it's contingent on those increases. So right now, from what President Qualls said, it's 5% this year, and then if we do not do anything in
I understand that. I understand it's 5% this year, but you got to wait next week or next month to come back and give them their raises after you've already given the raise in their. Does that make sense? You're voting on two different pieces of property, or two
Correct.
different ordinances or resolutions that should be put together.
And I understand what you're saying, but I think this is
I mean-
retroactive. Is that correct, President Qualls? Yes.
So it's retroactive.
Yes.
So if you pass the resolution, it's retroactive that they automatically get their raises. Because you're going to come next, because you guys just voted on the first passing of the raises,
Mr. President, I'm sorry. Yes. We've introduced the
raises.
We've introduced the appropriation to cover the 5% raises for 2025. We've introduced the salary ordinance, which will increase those salaries for 2025. And then we are considering adopting the contract, which will most certainly increase the salary 5% in 2025. And then there's.
Right, I understand that. Okay, just take the 10% out for now. So you're going to introduce this. You voted to bring up the 5% raise. But now you're going to do this contract in a resolution that is forcing your hands to automatically have to give them their 5% raise, because the contract that you guys are going to pass tonight has the language that says 5% raise. So why do we have to have an ordinance to change it to give them their 5% raise? Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying?
Because the law requires it. The law requires a change to the salary ordinance.
Right.
And
So
the
once you-
ordinance has to be a 2-reading process.
Okay.
Yes.
So once you pass this contract, they automatically get their raises.
Subject to the salary ordinance being increased.
Right.
And adopted next
But
month.
then they can go back to the contract and say, well, you agreed to give it to us. So, you see what I'm saying? I'm just afraid of taxes, guys. We're going to get taxed. We're going to get taxed. We're going to lose more businesses. We're going to lose more people in the city of Muncie. We can't afford to lose too many more. We can't afford to lose too many more people in this town because our tax base is going down. And I wish they could pay every one of those guys $100,000 a year. I wish every one of you guys could pay them $100,000 a year. They deserve every penny they get.
Yes, I do.
But let's not put our necks on the chopping block because we don't have the money to spend. Let's take it from the edit funds. Let's take it from the funds that's not being used on public services. Let's slow some of these projects down and get our police department built up instead of wasting $4.5 million a year on whatever we want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Chris Deegan, Muncie Police, I'm one of the administrators. I only have a couple things, and I'll be brief because I know that we've been at this for a minute now. I've been involved in numerous contracts going back to 2015 as a negotiation member, as president of AFOP, as a member of the City Police Administration. This is not something that I think should be taken lightly, but there's appropriate public forums to have these hard discussions. That's what government exists for. That's what we exist for. That's what you exist for. That's what this community exists for. Mr. Barber, you said yourself 3 or 4 meetings ago when I was up here presenting some information that this is your platform to vent. So I appreciate what you have to say in your opinions tonight. However, what I will say is the introduction or the possible introduction of anything tax related. That's the evil word in government, taxes, right? Let's all talk about it. You said talk about the elephant in the room. This forum exists for us to talk about this because we have a staffing crisis at the Muncie Police Department. And I have been banging that drum for 10 years, 10, personally. So I just think it's good that we all come together and try to work as a community to figure out what this resolution is. We cannot be as large of a community as we are and woefully underpay our public servants the way that we are. It is, and look at what we've done. You heard President Qualls. We've increased the salaries, if this one is approved, by 15% in 2 years. That's a home run 99% of the time. But we are so far behind from transgressions of years past. And I'm not even, it's beyond pointing fingers, it's beyond placing blame, it's beyond whether you are a Democrat or a Republican. This community has the obligation to protect the people that protect it because of the workload that they experience and what they deal with on a day-to-day basis. We have increased our EAP and psychological services programs tenfold over the last 5 years to try to provide resources to these people that help this community. So that is why these forums and these meetings exist, is so we can all talk about it. And I think that if we get to the point where somebody introduces a piece of legislation, it's an opportunity for everybody to talk about it. You don't have to like it. I don't want to pay any more taxes than I have to, but who knows where we'll end up. But the discussion has to be had. That's what I think what we're driving towards here is we've got to come together as a community and have these discussions because that's what this is for. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Deegan.
Hi.
Hi.
I wasn't going to speak, and I didn't tell any of my bosses that I was going to speak. I don't think they would have let me. And I'm nervous for some reason, even though...
Officer Kessler,
I
can you
know.
introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Sergeant Amy Kessler. I'm with the Muncie Police Department. In 2001, I achieved my childhood dream to become a police officer with the City of Muncie Police Department. I can remember taking my test in a room filled with over 100 people trying for the same job that I was trying to get. Over my years of service, I have seen how the public's view of cops has changed dramatically. The uniform I wear resembles the same uniform worn by men and women who have done horrible things to other humans. You can't turn on a television or scroll on an app on your phone without seeing an incident where an officer wearing this distinctive uniform I have on is feeling this issue. Even past members of my own department have aided in this perception. The reality is, I'm going to skip this part. Basically, sometimes we feel hated and unwanted by our community. So I'm going to skip ahead to the good part. With all that said, I have recently found a beautiful new motivation to keep going. For about the last 3 years, I have been doing community engagement, officer wellness, and oversee MPD social work program. I am a crisis intervention team coordinator and focus on mental health issues and addiction in our community. My team does homeless outreach, harm reduction, opioid outreach, among many other things. I will be ensuring that officers in Delaware County get the best training available to deal with those in crisis. The Muncie Police Department is evolving. I attend neighborhood meetings, do talks in the community, and programming in our schools. Here's what I've learned. Most people do not hate us. Most people want to see us in their neighborhoods. People want to see us interacting with their children. People want to get to know us, and they appreciate the sacrifices that we make. People need us to be transparent and educate them in what we do each day. People want to feel safe inside their homes, at the parks, and at events. They love us to be present and to know that if something were to happen, that we would be there to help them. I have found a new love for my profession, and I see a new culture in my department. I love and respect my community, and I thank so many citizens for giving me this motivation. Our community was thirsting for us as a department to be more transparent and visible. Due to the fact that every department in the U.S. is suffering from manpower issues, for years we were struggling to have enough just to do the basics. We had to concentrate on training policies and making ourselves better. Even putting myself and my partner into the role that we have today was a huge sacrifice for our department. My administration supports the style of policing and is doing everything that they can to expand it. The men and women that I work with are seeing our community in a new light. Officers who would normally shy away from public events are realizing how rewarding they are. I have seen some of the most amazing interactions between the men and women on my department with our citizens. We need to see that not everyone hates us. The community needs to see that we are humans who took this job to serve them. They need to see us interacting with citizens in a positive and kind way. We need to see that our citizens just want the quality of life that they deserve. I hear citizens say that they would love to see officers stop and play a quick game of basketball with the kids in the park. I get requests for officers to attend events and give talks. Community leaders support us and encourage us. There is so much more we all want to do. But this takes funding. It takes officers, it takes manpower. It breaks my heart when I have to tell people, I can't come to your event because I don't have enough officers. Because I've worked so hard, and my team has worked so hard, and they just don't get it. They don't get that I can't pull people from the road, and I can't afford to pay them overtime. The days of 100 people applying for positions are over. Last hiring process I helped with, I think there were 10, and maybe 6 showed up, and that was a lot. Takes funding to pay the overtime, which I had already said. It's simple. If you wanted to be a cop, knowing what road you had ahead of you, wouldn't you start by choosing the department that would pay you the most? Right now, that's not the Muncie Police Department. This will get worse if our funding decreases or even stays the same. I fear the future of my social work program, our social work program, and the community engagement division on my department if funding issues aren't considered. I fear for the officers that are working 12-hour shifts with sometimes 10 officers serving our entire community. And please consider sometimes that could be 5 cars if you have an officer that can't be on their own yet, and that happens quite often. I fear that our training will become bare minimum as required, as you might see in other police departments. I cannot imagine our citizens not supporting financially this positive movement that I see happening between law enforcement and our community. I hope the time that I leave this career, the Muncie Police Department could have bettered their relationship with our community. I would love to have many more social workers. I would love to have many more interactions with youth in our community. Myself, my chiefs, we would love to have 10 community engagement officers. We would like to be able to have time to stop and play basketball with the kids, but we don't. We don't have enough people. We can't hire people because we're not paid enough. And that's the bottom line. I would ask that in considering any issues with supporting our budget requests, which to be honest, I don't know, I'm clueless to. I hear what you're saying, but I just know how it makes us feel that it even has to be discussed that way. I have listened to the community, and I know this is what they want and what they support. Thank you, guys. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
No, Amy, I've
Yeah,
witnessed
absolutely.
your engagement, you and Officer Phillips.
Yep.
And I think that's something that's very important to communities, is to see officer engagement, you know, in the communities. So I applaud
Yes,
you
sir.
guys for what you do.
Thank you.
President,
Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about when you say that people have a different attitude about the police department. When I was over the Morningside district over there, we had neighborhood events in the park over there. And first thing I heard out of a parent, you better straighten up or I'll have that policeman take you to jail. And I told that lady, I said, you shouldn't tell that kid that, because, you know, if he needs help, that's who he needs to go to.
Yes, sir.
And we had the police department there. We had the brand new squad cars back then. And I was taking pictures of them in the back of the squad car. And as they was coming out, I said, that's the last time I want to see you in the back of that police car. And we had a real eventful neighborhood association in the park. And we had the fire department there too, and they loved the fire trucks too. And I told them, if you ever need help, you go to a policeman or a fireman, and they will help you. And that's, you know, they have a safe house. And we tried to teach that to the parents, not to tell their kids, you know, think mean about the police department. And that lady understood that. And
Yes, sir. Thank you. That was the part I had to skip, is some of the stuff that we go through in the public. We've set up booths and heard mothers and fathers and siblings tell people that, you know, we don't F with 12. If you're not familiar, I'll explain it to you maybe in private. But it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to have a mother tell you that, you know, they teach their children to fear us.
yeah.
This has to change, and I think that, you know, the department, my bosses have finally got enough people somehow to pull a few of us out. But to be quite honest, some days it's frustrating because we're working so hard to get invited to things. And then I'll call a supervisor on the road and say, can I borrow a guy or a girl? It doesn't matter, but it's just, you know, Officer Phillips and I. The public gets sick of seeing us, and we don't represent the police department, right? So it's a white female, black female. I need some guys there. I mean, that's the reality of it. But I'm happy with what we have. I'm thankful. I don't mean that, but we need more. And I do the officer wellness for the department. I have a lot of people come into my office and talk to me in private. We've had officers that, a lot of people in the world deal with trauma through alcohol and addiction. We don't have that choice. We automatically lose our job when that happens. But at the same time, I work every day to help citizens on the street that are addicted. And sometimes it causes confusion that we're sacrificing what we're doing to help those. But if it's one of my fellow coworkers, we're blasted in the media, we're made fun of, we're humiliated because of our trauma. You know, we spend a lot of money on therapy. Luckily, you know, EAP, I'm an EAP representative. But I guess the hardest part is I understand that money is money. But I know what the citizens want. I know what they're telling me. And I know you guys represent our citizens. And if you can make it work through all these complicated things that Deputy Chief Deegan is talking about and Sergeant Qualls, you know, make it work because we're making progress. And I see all you at events, and you know that that's true. But I'm taking up way too much time. Are there any more questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions from the audience?
Hi, I'm Brian Ashton, also with Muncie Police Department. Wasn't planning to speak tonight, but after hearing Amy speak, I wanted to just add a few extra points to that. I'm the training director for Muncie Police. I've been doing that for about 8 months now. So I see some of what she sees, but from somewhat of a different perspective. The bottom line is if we don't get adequate pay, we lose personnel. We've been talking about that all night and beating that drum. When we lose personnel, patrol can't suffer those losses, so the places that we do suffer those losses are places like community engagement, detectives, and narcotics, which are all essential services for a robust police department. The patrol division is, of course, immediate response, but they're not really the long-term solution. In most cases, it's those other divisions that offer those things. Besides those things suffering, the other thing that suffers is our training, where Amy can speak to what our local community wants. I, as well as anybody in this room, can speak to what the nation wants, which is better trained police officers. We've made strides in that direction. For example, we have added 10 hours of de-escalation training this year, which is something that, of course, has been a nationwide push. It's invaluable. We also do 4-hour CPR and trauma response type things. We do those annually, which is not a requirement. Those are things that we add and advocate for and strive for. We also are trying to put every single officer on the department through CIT, which is the crisis intervention training that Sergeant Kessler mentioned she was a coordinator for. All of those things take a lot of time, and in doing all of those things, they detract from the manpower coverage on the road, and we just can't do both. We have to have personnel. To have personnel, we have to have adequate pay. Otherwise, we can't train them to the standard that we not only are required to by state law, but also the standard that we want, which is significantly higher than what the state law actually demands. That's all I've got. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns, or from the council? Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Roll call.
Garrett,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Dishman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
9 yes.
Resolution number 8-25. Resolution 8-25. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie, Indiana, approving the collective bargaining agreement with the Muncie Firefighters Local 1348 IAFF AFL/CIO-CIC. I don't know those initials, so.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Not all of them,
I'll
anyway.
second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to adopt this resolution. Discussion.
Good evening, guys. My name is Jason Chafin. I'm the president of Muncie Firefighters Local 1348. First, I wanted to start out by saying thanks for putting the cops ahead of us because they stole all the thunder. But no, actually, I do want to thank, in serious, the administration, finance committee, Mr. Basham, who sat in all of our meetings throughout negotiations. You know, I mean, basically, up to this point, we've all worked together to find the monies to do what we can do as a city right now with what we have. You know, which, is it enough? It's not enough. I mean, we kind of, you know, like, and I can reiterate some of the things that we deal with. It's basically the same as the FOPs. You know, we have lost 4 members since January 1, of this year. 3 of which were our trained paramedics that were trained, which is, big losses. And we'll continue to be a training ground. We'll continue to lose. Our certified salaries, which is, again, a little bit more exact than the police because we don't have sheriffs and other people. Most every fire department in the city is a per 77 fund fire department. If they're a paid fire department, there's about 123 fire departments in the state of Indiana that's a paid fire department, and for the most part, they're all in perf. In 2023, before the 10% raise we got last year, we were 88th out of that 123. Is where we started in 2023. We got that 10% raise, and it jumped us to 64. This year with the 5%, we drop to 73, to 72. Why? I mean, 73 departments in the city of Indiana. Obviously, this is March, so we're already kind of behind the 8 ball, so we kind of know what everybody else has done because it took us a little bit longer to get to this point than most of the other cities in the state. 73 departments in the city of Indiana got 6% or more this year. 44 departments got over 10%. They brought up, President Qualls brought up Newcastle in Henry County. They passed a 0.5% lit and gave all their city employees, public safety included, a 31% raise over 2 years. You know, the Newcastle Fire Department makes more money than Muncie Fire Department now they're about 7 spots ahead of us on that certified salary list now. You know, they're 8 miles away. You know, I mean, you know, and they take way less runs than we do. You know, we took 17,800 calls last year. Many of them were 1 hour plus calls, you know, whether, you know, medical transports to the hospital, house fires. I mean, you know, these aren't 10-minute calls, 5-minute calls most of the time. These are, you know, when we took 17,800 with a staff of 122 if we're fully staffed, which majority of the time we're not fully staffed. We took, and that ratio, 17,800 calls with 122 people, put us the busiest fire department in the state of Indiana. There's no one that can beat us, you know, with that ratio. I mean, the departments that take more calls than us all have 400, 500, you know, Indianapolis, Fort Wayne. You know, they all have hundreds more, South Bend, Evansville, they have hundreds more firefighters. And so, per capita, we're the busiest department in the state of Indiana. Again, you know, we thank everybody for what they've been able to do and what we can continue to keep working towards as a community to make sure that we keep our people, you know, we've did a lot of things. You know, we worked with the administration last year. We created what we called an in-house version of the certified physical agility testing. Because one way we've found and one way we've pushed as a union and as administration is if we can get people to apply that live here in Muncie, they'll be less likely to leave. Even with our pay being less, I mean, you know, because they're taking care of their family members, they're taking care of their community.
Right.
So the way it worked prior to 2024, or you know, maybe we got it done late 23, is to apply to the fire department anywhere in the state of Indiana, you had to have a CPAT card, is what they call it. It stands for Certified Physical Agility Test. And you take that card, and there's only a few places in Indiana where you could get one of these cards. One was in Indiana, outside Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, Valparaiso. So the first step in applying to Muncie Fire Department was to go get a CPAT card. Those cards, I think they're up to over $200 a piece. You have to go do your drive somewhere, take a day off work, drive weekend day, whatever, take that, and then possess this physical agility card. So what we were seeing is only kids that could afford it, and you really want to be a fireman, didn't want to be a Muncie fireman necessarily, but want to be a fireman, we go out and get these $200 cards and then apply everywhere. You know, we'll take, you know, the first person that's want to hire us, we'll take that job. But if something better comes along, we'll lateral transfer right out, which was we were seeing happening over and over. So one small step we did, which I think is, you know, hopefully continue being a large step, is we bought the equipment. We found room in our training facility to create our own. We went to the state and got it approved to do our own physical agility tests. Now we're not handing out cards, yet, but we have the equipment to mimic that test to where every kid that applies for Muncie Fire Department only can come do that test for free right here in Muncie. So that was a big step we made, hopefully to recruit more Muncie kids in the coming days. You know, obviously our Fire Prevention Bureau goes out to the schools and does all that stuff to try to, we try to do activities every day that interacts with the community to try to get that, buy-in from the, kids. We have kids in our fire trucks from the high schools every day. The Career Center sends kids to our fire trucks and to our ambulances, religiously. Our training ground for paramedics, that they go to IU paramedicine, so they do their ride time. We've recruited ourselves, some paramedics, that fresh out of school that, because of our partnership with IU Lifeline on their paramedic school. So we're doing the things we can to try to help recruit locally. But it's only going to be so much. I mean, we've had Muncie kids that leave us for Fishers You know, and one, you know, and the thing is, we're never going to compete with the Carmel and the Fishers. You know, I mean, we can keep passing taxes and we can keep going, and they just have things going on that we don't, and this generation of Muncie. But one thing we can do is continue to work, you know, to get our pay as best as we can, and to where we're not losing people to South Madison. Well, two of the people that just left us left for South Madison Fire Territory, which basically covers small Pendleton, Indiana, and a couple small towns around it. And then they average about 3,000 calls a year, and they're beating us by almost $20,000. You know, I mean, this 5%, and that's why you see this 5%, we're actually dropping. 10% next year if we get to those discussions and that comes through, you know, we would still, it's still dents in the road, you know. But again, we understand the community we work in. We love the community we work in. Most of us don't want to work in any other community, you know, and we'll continue doing that work. And I'm here for any questions you guys have.
Question?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, and again, no one up here, and we've had this conversation, everyone up here supports public safety.
Mm-hmm.
Just to review the contract, it's a 2-year contract,
Yes, sir.
and the first year is the 5%?
Yep.
And then, do you also,
Ours is a little bit different than the FOPs.
Thank you for
in the
explaining
sense
that.
of, you know, obviously, we don't pass any taxes. You know, and when then we go into, you know, if we were to go into a negotiation next year, and we know what's, you know, we kind of looked at the financial picture and be like, well, what could the city afford, you know? So ours is 3%, 10%. Next, it's a 2-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's in 26, it's either be 3% with no tax changes or 10% with tax changes.
Okay.
And I will harken back, you know, the discussion I was listening to a minute ago with Senate Bill 1. Senate Bill 1 could force tax changes on us. It could do, you know, as we know, Senate Bill 1, I mean, we're for all our lobbyists, and not always do our lobbyists at the State House, our PFFUI guys, our state guys, are on the same side as AIM, which is the city, you know, which is the lobbyists for the cities. But on this issue, we're on the same side. I mean, we want to make sure that our counties and our cities aren't drastically impacted by this potential legislation. You know, so obviously we got to watch that in these coming months, which could force our hands in some way. You know, luckily, we have been good stewards here in Muncie in the sense of taxes. You know, we are the 69th lowest lit tax county in the state. There's 92 counties, only 11 of them have a lower lit tax than we have. We haven't raised ours since the
2015.
The 2015. It took effect, I think, 16, but it was 2015 when we did the passing of it. Yeah, so that's basically almost a decade now. Every other county around us has did it multiple times. Multiple times during that time. So that's why every other county around us has much higher rates than we do, which benefits those people in those counties because a lot of them drive here to work. Yeah, so they're getting the best of both worlds because actually, if you own property, it gets offset by a lit tax. So if those people that live in those counties surrounding us are getting a really good deal right now because they're paying lower property taxes, and then they come here to work and pay lower lit tax. So, you know, obviously those are discussions for days to come, but I did have a little bit of statistics with me.
Mr. President, I just want to make one more comment. One comment. Thank you so much. You have almost overwhelmed us with information, and everything I've asked, you have just provided it, Johnny, on the spot, and I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
You're welcome. And I'll continue to keep trying to do my best doing it.
Thank you.
Jerry.
Yeah. Was your guys happy with the contract?
Yeah, I remember you asking Brandon that when he was up here. I can't remember our vote exactly, but it was a pretty overwhelming vote when we had the night of our ratification. I mean, again, you know, we see, you know, we're happy with a asterisk, I would say, because, you know, we pass it and we're happy. Okay, we're getting the 5%, maybe 10, maybe 15, you know, and then we see, and then our buddies from other departments are like, yeah, we just got 31. Yeah, I mean, Bloomington just got 30. Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh man, maybe I'm not so happy anymore. You know, I mean, so it's kind of a happy with an asterisk because we're seeing what's going on around us and we're thinking, ooh.
How many people?
You know, it's like keeping up with the Joneses almost, and we struggle with that.
Yeah. How many people have you lost?
We've lost 4 since January 1. That's just, you know, that's just off the top of my head. I know since January 1 we've lost 4. Over the last few years, it's well over 20, 30. I mean, we've had our recruit class last year, now some of that was retirements, and losses, I think was 23. We hired last year in one big recruit class just to try to get us back up to staffing. We're getting ready to obviously hire more to try to replace the 4 that just left. So it's a never-ending battle.
Are you below minimum staffing?
Well, minimum staffing is our daily, 20, contractual amount. So we always have the minimum staffing. It's just when we lose the overall numbers, then now the chiefs have to sit there and watch the overtime budget and those kind of things. And then,
Right.
now you're going to save money on the line item that has salaries. But then eventually, come the end of the year, if we run low, Chief Burford's going to be in front of you guys saying, I need money from this salary line item moved over to this overtime line item because we're paying less salaries, but we're paying more overtime. So it's kind of one of those balancing acts when we fall below our numbers. But obviously, the training aspect, we have people on our list to hire. Our last list, I think we still have. So our merit commission will probably be hiring. A few. I mean, assuming they still want the job, the candidates. But then we have probably anywhere from a 3 to 6 month training to get them on the street. So I mean, so every time we lose somebody, that big gap of getting them trained and ready for the street has to be replicated every time.
Well, I'd like to thank you and Mr. Qualls for you guys' thing on the contract, participating in that contract, getting a good contract for the guys.
Thank you.
May I? Thank you, President. Could you provide us as council and the public, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Mr. Deegan about your salaries, where does it run? I need data on, if you don't mind, if you want to send it to me or to the whole council. I need comparisons between lit taxes in other cities and the increase. I mean, I know I could do it, but
I will have it for you.
And then I need
Tomorrow.
to see numbers, right, and
Absolutely.
charts
I will have it
and
tomorrow.
every data. And then I would appreciate it if the Muncie Fire Department would do the same, put that information out there for the public on your website.
We absolutely will.
And then I would recommend both for the Muncie Police and for the firefighters to create some kind of brochure or kind of
Absolutely.
campaign, so when we're having these discussions, the public is aware.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that we did last time. I think Ms. Powell was probably the only one still on the. Oh, Jerry, you guys remember, we did that last time.
Okay.
We'll do it again this time.
Thank you.
Anytime obviously you guys are in the difficult position based on the population of Muncie, you guys are also the taxing authority.
Okay.
But, again, the county, I watch their budget cycle, Commissioner, Brand's here, we
One more.
this tax is a county tax, not a city tax, but it's I watch their budget hearings, they struggle just like we struggle, but yeah, so this will definitely be a conversation that we have to have in the public with everyone.
Okay, so the other part of your campaign or your information that I'd like to see, like if you make 30,000, what percent? I know you're gonna throw percent, but a lot of people need to see numbers. You can say it's only this percent. If we pay this percent, I want people to know how much is that in dollar amount taken
Absolutely.
weekly or every other week, please?
Yeah,
Because that makes more sense.
It absolutely makes sense, and
Thank you.
And obviously it would change. Someone making 100,000
Absolutely, yeah.
versus someone making 40,
Yeah.
or less.
Okay.
And then basically we know just from our previous lit tax that
Yeah.
for every basically quarter that it raises, that you raise it, would generate. Like I think we raised it. Would generate somewhere around $3.5 million.
Right.
So we have. I think the limit is 3%, or a little over 3% is the limit we have. We're at, again, we have over half of our lit tax that we've unused, which is obviously we're 69th out of 92 counties, so we did a really good job keeping it low as possible. We've only used it one time, other than the edit that was built in, since the enaction of it, which was with the property taxes. So as you raise it each quarter, it's about, like I say, around $3.5 million, and we still have 1.5% to spend. Now, again, a 10% raise wouldn't need 1.5%. We're not asking, nor would we ask for 1.5%. That would be, again, because again, that would be kind of like, throwing your touchdown Hail Mary, now we're done. And if any future problems like a Senate Bill 1 comes up, we've already tied our hands. We can't do that. So, I mean, obviously, a 10% raise, we're talking about a 0.25% raise to a 50% raise. And that'd be discussions with you guys, the county, all of us, on what the raise would need. And then obviously, we're going to sit back and watch Senate Bill 1 and see if that affects the need to raise it as well. Because it looks like the way they've kind of, at least our governor has said, we're going to pass this and you guys got to deal with it.
Okay.
And the last time the fire department did go out into the community, and the police department as well. And I think that what Councilperson Selvey had said in regards to a pamphlet, I think we actually used like those totals into real objects, like this is going to be like a 20-ounce Coke or whatever it was.
Right.
So those would be very useful if and when that discussion comes up. And also, really quickly, I don't want to slight President Qualls. He also is very willing to give us information regarding his contract. It's just President Chafin overwhelmed with spreadsheets, and you could click different tabs, and so that's the reason. That's the reason. You might want to hire him out because he's.
And then I call Brandon and I make sure he gets.
Exactly. So I didn't want you to feel like you did not. The police department did an excellent job as well. The FOP did an excellent job as well, and I passed everything on to the rest of the council committee. But I'm used to your spreadsheets, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for President Chafin?
Once again, Audie Barber, maybe we can get the mayor to commit a little bit of his edit money toward these raises. Maybe you guys, would that be a possibility, Mayor? Would you be able to commit any of your edit money toward raises toward the fire department and police department? $4.5 million.
Any other questions? Any other questions from the audience? Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Roll call.
Powell,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ralph Privet, I'm sorry.
Hello. I'm the vice president of the Granville Neighborhood Association. What I got to talk about is going to be minor compared to what you've been talking about today, but it's a problem for our neighborhood. We have a lot of code violations. I can call the code enforcement, but we just don't seem to get anything done. It was suggested to me to come here and ask you guys to put more bite into the codes. The code I'm talking about is parking. We have a lot of renters in our neighborhood. We have people parking their trucks right up by the front door of their homes. We have them parking boats in the front yard. We have 3 or 4 of the subcontractor, self-employed, that install all steel buildings that bring industrial and 30-foot industrial trailers in. Our neighborhood's a residential neighborhood. It's not built for 30-foot industrial trailers. My understanding is the code for Muncie is that you can park in your backyard, you can park in your side yard, you can park in the right-of-way at the road. From the wall of the front of your home to the right-of-way is considered the front yard, and there's no parking in the front yard. We have these trailers that are, we have one home where the guys have actually dumped gravel halfway up the front yard, and they pull their 3/4-ton trucks vertically up in the yard. They put the trailer in the driveway. They've got ruts 8 inches to 12 inches deep in the driveway. They drag mud out into the street, and we're trying to
clean up our neighborhood. It's an older neighborhood. It's been around since 1953, but it could be a nice neighborhood if we could just get people in the neighborhood to just simply follow codes and ordinances. We're not trying to make an HOA or anything. We just want codes and ordinances enforced. I called code enforcement February twice. I've still got a boat sitting in the front yard. I still got a 30-foot trailer sitting in the front yard. I still got 2 trucks sitting in the front yard. I don't see where they've even been out. Maybe they have, I don't know. Now, when we had the previous commissioner, I talked to him constantly several times. We got a lot done with homes. But as far as the vehicle part of it, that's separate from what the building commissioner does. But he told me that like the parking of expired license plates, flat tires, or somebody parking a van and using it for storage and filling it full of junk, that code was rescinded because of some wording was being sent back to the city council to be revised. I don't think what I'm talking about, parking in the front yard, is part of that, but if you guys are looking at this other part and revising it, could you look at this, at the whole code and maybe put a little more teeth in it for these people? Because I do know I see code enforcement cars go through the neighborhood every once in a while, but there just doesn't seem to be anything getting done. And one problem too is they told me that unless the vehicle is parked in the yard when they show up, they can't do anything. You can obviously see gravel in the yard, you can see ruts in the yard, but the only person they can tag is that vehicle, the person who owns it. Well, if they rent that home, even if they fine them, they have very little way to collect it because they're not going to pay it. Because if it's the homeowner, then they add it onto their, I guess it's a lien or maybe something, they add it to their taxes. So it seems to me that the person who owns that home that's renting to this other person should be the one responsible for the damage to that property, and they should have to enforce their renters to follow codes or pay the price. And that's what I'm asking for tonight, is that.
Okay, I feel your pain, son.
Yeah, these people, well, now these guys that are subcontractors that have the trucks and the trailers, they're good neighbors. Their trailers aren't.
Yeah.
They need to get their trailers out so they can park in the driveway. It seems to me that these industrial trailers, they should have to have a lot to park them in. I know some of the, I know some of these places where they pick up supplies. I know the one over on Streeter and Granville. The secretary there told me that she thought most likely the guy that owned that business would let them park their trailers there. And there is somebody that parks one there loaded over the weekend. I don't see it tampered with. So I would think that they could come to an agreement with whoever they pick their supplies up from. They've all got these big, huge lots and big buildings. Surely they could park them there.
Mr. President. Ralph, I'll be seeing the building commissioner about that. And
Now, I've talked to Richard Rawlings about a property.
Yeah.
We have a property that's been empty for 4 to 5 years.
I've got a problem just like you've got down the street from me.
Yeah, I was going to say they're expanding out into other neighborhoods, so you're going to feel the pain.
This guy had one cocked on its side, working on it, and like you said.
Well, he probably used to live in our neighborhood because he was doing that in our neighborhood, and the code enforcement made him pull his gravel out of his front yard and move the trailer. But the other people on the other road, I don't know what.
It's all rutted out in this yard.
Oh, yeah, they make horrible ruts, dragging it out in the street.
I'll be seeing him, and I'll be getting back to you.
My understanding is that doesn't fall under the building commissioner. Code enforcement's a separate thing.
Well, I think the code enforcement on the parking in the front yard is.
No, can I speak on the code? Go ahead, Billy.
I just wanted to say I sympathize with you also. It's right next door to me, and they're contractored out or whatever, and they pulling in these big trucks with all these big, long, heavy metal rail things on them. I done had the code enforcements out They keep telling me if it's on the driveway, they're legal or what have you, but it's an eyesore and it's really bad. And there ain't nobody living there.
And
That's
them
the
big
bad
tra-
part about it.
If
So,
your neighborhood's like mine, they can't really turn them trailers at the
No,
corners. The
they
streets
done-
aren't built
they
for
done
it's a
took a
residential
piece of my
neighborhood. They
yard.
go into people's yards and rut those, yeah.
took a piece of my
Knock
fence,
down mailboxes.
knocked my fence down, my yard.
Yep.
And
We've got
so-
people that's putting posts up across the front of the yard and stringing either wire or rope across it to try to keep, they just knock it over.
I know.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad Councilman Dishman is going to go with the commissioner, because that's where my next step was. I wasn't getting anywhere with the code enforcement. I hate to say it like that, but reality speaks for itself. I'm sorry.
Well, what I got from them was I needed to come here and ask you guys to put more teeth into the code and the ordinances so they can enforce them is what they're telling me, so I don't know.
Good advice.
The main thing is that during the hours they work, these guys are going working, and if they go there and there's 12-inch ruts in the yard and gravel pulled up there, they can't do anything because they can only tag the vehicle, because only the person who owned the vehicle in the yard is responsible. I think the landlord should be responsible for that yard and have to keep it. I mean, clearly you can't park in the front yard if there's ruts there's parking going on, so the landlord should be fined, and then he can pass that along to the tenant or evicting, you know.
I think what a lot of these guys are doing are buying these vacant houses on tax sale.
I think
they're using them.
Yeah, well, I know that the ones that, at least 3 of the homes that our guys are in is owned by a landlord that lives in Yorktown, and he doesn't really care what they do, I guess.
None of them do.
Yeah, I have to look out my front door every day at that big long metal
Yeah, they need,
rails and
yeah.
you know.
I mean, even if they, like I say, they can park in the backyard and the side yard. Well, you're not gonna back that trailer up in the backyard, and you're not gonna put your trucks back there, you can't get the trailer in the driveway. But if they'd put the gravel and put the trailer up in the driveway, they could put one truck in front of it in the driveway and put the other truck parallel to the road, and they'd be legal.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we have other neighbors who see them do that and see them get away with it. Now we've got a boat in the front yard, and
Oh, my gosh.
we've got a car in the front yard, and we've got 2 more trucks in the front yard, we've got an SUV in the front yard. People don't want to walk, 20 feet to the driveway when they can walk 8 feet out the door and get in their truck. Lazy.
Yeah, and they'll do a minimal amount of work on the house to make
We
it
got-
look like it's
Yep.
being rehab.
Yep.
And yeah.
I know it's all over, but as far as to the extent we've got it, I don't see any other neighborhoods that are as bad as ours as far as the parking. Is there?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't know. Muncie's doing a lot to beautify it, parks, building, apartments, new homes and stuff. But some of these older neighborhoods, it's like you can't get them, maybe they want them to deteriorate so they can tear them down and build new, I don't know. But they're not doing enough to, in my opinion, in the older neighborhoods with just simply what we got, codes and ordinances, to keep them from getting tore up.
Amen. Didn't we?
That's all I got to say.
I'll get back with you.
I don't know, which
Okay, I appreciate it.
Which neighborhood?
Thank you guys for your time.
Granville?
Thank you.
Granville?
Granville, we're between Granville, North Walnut, Centennial, and McGuire, the railroad tracks between Martin Luther King and
Yeah,
Granville.
these are
Yeah.
probably the same guys that's across the street from me that's, you know.
Well, they're I think a lot of them are all related anyhow, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next.
Charlize Jamison, I don't see. Mr. Audie Barber.
I've said quite a bit already tonight. There were some examples used with the fire department, Fishers, Bloomington, Evansville. If you guys go look at those towns, cities, whatever you want to call them, there are a lot more industry, a lot more businesses coming into the towns. If we could get some more businesses in this town, it'd be great. We've lost our businesses, we've lost our factories. And maybe in the next 30 or 40 years, that everything from Noblesville will grow on out toward Anderson and to Muncie, and we'll all be one big state. But until then, you know, just remember that lit tax thing's going to be coming up, and 25 to 50% raise on the lit tax. Other counties, Noblesville, Fisher's got a 31% raise. That's because they have the business in there to support the raises, guys. We don't have those businesses here. It's a shame. It really is. Muncie's a beautiful town. I wish you guys could give every one of those guys more money than they could afford to spend. But it's not happening here in Muncie right now, guys. And all I'm asking is be careful, because that lit tax is coming your way. And also, I do want to apologize for missing the last 3 months of council meetings. I know some of you guys had been out there and asked me when I was coming back, but everybody missed me, so I'm back.
We missed you.
So it was just 3 months, just December, January, February, so I'm back. I just wanted to prove a point to some people.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, Artie. Mr. Bilbrey.
Yeah, just briefly, I want to ask if any of you have heard or you have any understanding of what's going on with the Crisis Center. Muncie Crisis Center started being talked about in the press in March of 2023. In that article, the mayor said it had been in the works for the last 2 years. They said they started looking at the hub for the Crisis Center in 2022. September of 2022, and there's been all kinds of stories basically since November. People said, oh, it's open, it's not open. Some people have said that it's open from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, which doesn't really seem productive, because I feel like most people have crisis after those hours, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I've been there several times since they've said it's been open, and Meridian Services has been running it. The door's been locked. Nobody's been inside. U.S. postal notes have been stuck on the outside. I was there one day. Mary Maids was trying to get inside to clean the place, and nobody would let them open the door. So, you know, we've paid a lot of money for this place, and I would assume that we're still paying for utilities or whatnot here. So I would like to try to figure out if we can get some kind of understanding of what's going on with it. So, I mean, I understand that maybe you guys don't know currently, but we'll come back. I'll come back next meeting and I'll ask you again. But if you could find out between now and then, that would be fantastic. I think that the public deserves to know, you know, what's going on there. I've heard some people say that basically we're out of it, that Meridian Services is running it now, but I think that's nuts if that's the case, because we've paid a lot of money for that, and so I'm concerned about that. And then I'll save it for next month. Okay, thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Bilbrey, I pledge to get a hold of you before next month's meeting and let you know what's going on with that. Yep. You're welcome.
I will say, Mr. President, I mean, we did get a little bit of an update on this recently. The whole council got this. I mean, it's not much, but the mayor did share with us that it's been open about a month now, and at the request of Meridian Health and police social workers, they're doing a slow rollout of the program, and they'll continue to increase the scope. So that's the most recent that I've heard about it.
When did you get that?
This week. This week.
Tuesday.
Okay, is there any? Amber, go ahead.
Amber Green, Communications Director for the city. I just want to reiterate the email. It is open. It has been open for a little over a month. It is only taking clients from police calls at this time. That is at the request of Meridian. Meridian is looking to do a slow roll because it is new. It is not like anything that we have in the community currently, and they want to make sure they get it right. So that is at the request of them, and we are waiting to hear from them as to getting more services going, and updates are provided to you when they are provided to us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else from the audience? Anyone from the council?
Yes, I do. We have a commissioner, a Delaware County commissioner here. I'm going to put you on the spot, if you don't mind. I just want to thank the Delaware County commissioners for their latest resolution regarding, that was a very great move on your part, and hopefully we will emulate it on city council and come alongside of you in support. Would you please come up to, if that's okay with you, to explain exactly what you guys did and what your resolution was all about? And thank you for that, doing that.
So Stephen Brand, Delaware County Commissioner. Which ordinance?
The one regarding the tax caps from
The budget?
the budget.
Was that the council?
I think that was the
That was
council.
county council.
commissioner.
County
Council.
commission,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Okay.
I wish I could take credit, but I cannot.
Oh, it was the county. Okay. Well, would you thank them for us, please? Thank you.
I will.
I apologize.
Okay, if no one has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
That was very-
The motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.